Starting to be summer again, which you know what that means. It means the weather is getting to be very hot, very annoying. It also means that people are going to be out and noisy a lot more, which is, not great for someone like me, someone that likes the quiet and the solitude and the tranquility of hearing their own thoughts. But um, we can't always get the ambience of the environment. It kind of shocks me when I hear about people that like they have a voice in their head that's going 24/7 100% of the time. I feel like most of the time it's literally just silent in my head unless I'm explicitly concentrating on something and attempting to think about something. Then most of the time it's going one of two things is going to be happening. Either I have a song stuck in my head, which honestly doesn't happen all that often, or it's just completely silent. It's completely silent up there, and I feel like that allows me to enjoy the ambience or the silence that we so often take for granted in life. But I'm definitely not taking it for granted when it gets to be loud outside because of all the activities. I'm not really a big fan of all that. I feel like, throughout my life, I've just wanted to chill, just be kind of low key, not really be involved with all of everything going on. And I feel like I become more and more like that as time goes on rather than less. Um, so now I see that it's getting a lot hotter, and I see that people's attitudes are changing, their activities are changing, and I'm just like, get me the hell out of here, like let this part of the year go by as fast as possible. Um, I feel really kind of in my element in the fall and the winter time. I don't know why. It's something that I've documented many times on this channel that I think people have seen many times on this channel. Really, it's something that um, I keep uh, I keep displaying to you guys, even just with my output. But it's also just random. How much the year affects a person is going to be kind of random. Um, I've noticed that I didn't have brain fog all that bad to begin with. It's only something that I've had to deal with a handful of times in my life. Maybe not even a handful, like something less than a handful. Um, but I was dealing with it right up before I started my daily language learning routine last year. Um, but what I noticed after developing this routine and seeing myself understand more and more in this other language, what I noticed happen was that the brain fog I was experiencing before went away and didn't come back, which leads me to believe that I wasn't experiencing brain fog as a result of anything endemic to my body or uh, my environment necessarily. It had to do with how much I was working out my brain. If you have a muscle and what is the word? It's atrophied. I think that's the word, because it hasn't been used for a very long time. Um, or like, the health of your heart goes down because you spend all your time sitting in a chair. Um, then you're going to have bad outcomes, right? You're going to feel worse. You're going to potentially have heart attacks in the future, things like this. And I think the same can be said of the brain. If you're not actively using your brain for things, if you're not activating it and getting it to work, then you're more likely to experience things like brain fog. And I think that's what happened in my case. I was experiencing brain fog because I wasn't using my brain for stuff all the time. Now that I find myself in a strict study routine and I'm constantly reviewing the information that I've learned, I feel as though it's not really possible for my brain to be in this kind of atrophied, rested state where it's just, letting itself die out, because I'm actively concentrating and testing my memory and thinking so often, thinking about novel grammatical structures, um, you know, having the information be reviewed in my mind, developing new memories, solidifying old ones, things like this. Um, and I think that that kind of exercise is really important for the longevity of the brain. Not only do I think that, it's been something that has been empirically demonstrated, objectively demonstrated in the neuroscience research around second language acquisition. It's very good for your brain. Um, and so, if you want to delay the onset of Alzheimer's or dementia, it's a good activity to partake in. Um, but, part of the reason it's doing that for you is because your brain is getting exercise in the same way that your muscles might. And my theory right now is that that's what got me out of experiencing brain fog. In the past 6, 7 months, I haven't had to deal with it. Me, a lot of what makes a website good is its minimalism. Like, part of the reason why I complain about YouTube so much is because nowadays there are a million different tabs for a million different things that could easily be displayed together. Case in point, the Shorts tab, the Live tab, and then you also have the Community tab, which is a less recent addition to the YouTube website, but equally as annoying for me, because I don't think YouTube should be a social media website unless you're going to be maximalist about it and just bring back video responses. Make it to where you can have a video response underneath every single video or something. Of course, that system is kind of difficult to moderate and is prone to abuse, so I understand why that doesn't exist. But, like, if you're going to be a social media site, be a social media site. I don't want YouTube to be that. And so I find it kind of strange and annoying that they perpetuate the parasocial nature of all this by putting a community tab there. I've never posted in that tab, which is part of why it doesn't show up on my channel. But, like, I find this annoying in the same way that I find servers that have a million different channels annoying. Like, okay, you're going to have a channel for every single different topic under the sun. How many people actually use those? It just makes it, I hate the UI and design of Discord in the first place. I don't like how servers look in the first place, but, like, you're going to make it look particularly bad if you just have a million channels. That's how I feel about modern YouTube. I've complained about this before, about how, you don't have a chronological look at a channel when they do it this way, which is also annoying. Part of the reason this grinds my gears is because I find that the more minimal a website is, the better it looks. That's why I like Bear Blog. If you guys have seen my blog, which is linked in the description of every video I make, it's very minimal. It's just text on a white background and some photos. Nothing more to it than that. No comment box or anything like that. Very, very minimal. And I think that's how the best websites look. I think ideally that's what a website would look like. Obviously, with sharing video, it gets a little bit more complicated, but that is my preference. I like how the old school GeoCities websites look as well. Like, they've got kind of a cool thing going on. But I also think that style has been overdone at this point. The nostalgia for that style of website was so big a couple years ago that eventually, like, everybody made their website look like that, and it got out of hand. I think it just got really silly. We're at a point now where I think that trend has kind of died off, and people are more so just making their websites practical. But there's still a lot of unnecessary bloat that you see around on the internet. And I want to get to a point where the people are making websites that don't have all of this unfree JavaScript, all of this, all of these random things to make it look better on a cell phone. Um, that's the other thing too, is that when people design websites now, they design them with both the phone and the computer in mind, but in many cases, primarily with the phone in mind, because that is the main way that people access the internet at this point. And so, all the like weird, blocky aesthetics that you see on websites now are largely a product of that phenomenon of people accessing the web through their phone. Um, that's why space is poorly utilized on most websites nowadays too. The reason why, websites look simultaneously cramped and also like space is being overused, like the weird like blocky like big fucking colors and shit. Like they do that because it's not designed to be looked at on a ThinkPad X60. They're doing that because they don't have your Philips monitor in mind. Um, they're thinking about the iPhone 14 or whatever we're on. I think we're at a number higher than that. I don't keep up with phones because I don't like phones, but um, yeah, I don't know. We need to abolish. That's my position. I don't have like a, I don't know, like a techno nostalgic position or something. Like I don't think we all need to go back to Windows XP. That was fucking Windows, bro. Like Windows sucks. It it was objectively the best version of Windows, but that doesn't mean that it was good, right? Like take your nostalgia goggles off for a moment and think about the fact that it's not free and open source software. Um, yeah, like I'm not nostalgic about these things. I have practical critiques about what made the old stuff better in many cases and what is actively ruining the new stuff. And I could go on and on about the introduction of AI into into various sites as well, but I'm not going to because, frankly, I try to avoid that topic on my channel because, you know, there's a couple topics that, if they're talked about in a video, it'll be an indication that that's a modern video for me. Like that's a video that is that exists in a reality that I'm trying to get away from. Like if someone mentions the COVID lockdowns, if someone mentions AI in their video, I know what time period that video's from. And I feel just so much malaise from having to hear about those things and having everything in our world today be kind of looked at through the lens of those things. There's also a certain politician that I don't like to bring up in my videos. I won't say who, but you can probably guess. Because I also consider him to be a product of this modern era and very emblematic of it. And I don't like talking about him. I'll just say he who shall not be named in my videos either. You know, I've made some pointed political videos that talk about him and his policies, very few. But, you know, in my comfy vlogs and stuff, I don't like to do that because it's just, that's not the vibe I'm going for. That's not the world that I'm trying to create with my videos. Frankly, that's not the world I'm trying to live in on a daily basis. Like, I'm trying to play video games, motherfucker. I'm trying to study languages. I'm trying to, you know, enjoy my life. I'm not trying to be burdened by all of the woes and traumas of our modern age. Um, but that's not because I have some nostalgia for a different era. It's because I know that right now things fucking suck. Like, there's some good things too that we have nowadays, good advancements that I'm very appreciative for. And even some of the tools that I talk bad about, or some of the websites I talk bad about, like YouTube, you know, they're still exceptionally useful, and there's still a lot of great stuff coming out. So, um, I have a balanced perspective about this, but I'm also very aware of the structural flaws in so many of these things. And I feel like I come at this from a unique angle because of that. I struggle, for example, to find like minded gamers, people who are into similar stuff as me. Thankfully, I have Sophia to talk to about that stuff, but it's this strange thing where um, I try to talk to gamers my own age, and they think a lot of the stuff that I'm into is bad without ever having played it, or they can't get over how the graphics look, or they just really want something with microtransactions and always on play and stuff like that, the kind of stuff I'm not into. And so it's tough, it's difficult to find somebody to talk to that is into the same stuff as me and that really appreciates it. um, it makes me feel kind of alone as a member of Gen Z, that's into all this old stuff. I know that there are a lot of people like me out there. I just don't know where to find them. I don't know where to find people who are into all of the free software stuff, people that are into all of the retro gaming stuff, all of the old school hardware, people who like old cameras the way that I do, people, it's just difficult to find, right? I have a lot of hobbies and interests, but I feel like they're all kind of similar to one another. Like they all have kind of some similar through lines connecting them, but I don't know where to find somebody that really shares my perspective. I think that's part of why I share it here on the internet, to see if people know what's up, if they really get it, um, to see if there's anybody else like me out there.